Good morning, everybody. Simon Holden here, the Sheriff of Tippingham, with the judge for another Monday edition of Judge's Duels, your horses to follow. Start of the week extravaganza. How are you doing, Judge? You have a good weekend, mate?
Yeah, fine, mate. Yeah. Couple of Gillette moments, but it's been a good week, really. We had a couple of nice winners, but there's many more to come. We've got Champions Weekend to look forward to at the end of the week.
We have, and like sportsdirect.com, we are the UK's #1, Judge.
And I've got me Goodwin mug.
Never heard of him. Is that Catamol's thing? I've never heard of him either. Right. I'm going to do something a bit different, mate, and that is I'm going to look at a race, but that's second. I've got a horse coming up, and I must tell you, Judge, I'm going to give an anti-post bet for the Derby.
Really?
25 to 1, and I think everybody watching this needs to bung a few quid at that now. So exciting day for me. Now, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I suppose because the way we normally set it up, I'm going to go. I'd always like to go for the obvious one.
He's been watching.
Yeah, keep watching. Yeah, no. Yes, yeah. You get your Derby bet near the end, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
My first. Oh yeah, that's you. My first one ran I spit it out on Saturday in the big sprint handicap. We won't talk about Gulliver, just never had a run, so we just never know what it could have done. But if you watch the race back,
I think he's finished his travels for the year, hasn't he?
We just didn't travel, did we? It was there, and that was that. Yeah. Anyway, there was two horses at the back in that race: Gulliver, who never got a run, and Gisborne. They were both last and second last most of the way, and Gisborne got a clearer run, but it was given a very kind ride. I mean, he wasn't ever knocked. It's almost like it was never knocked about. But he ran on under a hand ride into about fifth or sixth. But this horse has been on my radar before because I spotted him on 2 or 3 starts. Even going back to when he was at Goodwood, he came second to I'm a Gambler. And you see what that's done since. I mean, that's won 2 big handicaps at Goodwood, and I think it's at Leopardstown, and then he won a listed race at Redcar afterwards. This thing come second to that day on unsuitable ground. I think this horse has got a big handicap next year in him if he's campaigned right. I think he could win a big 6 furlong sprint on soft ground. He's rated 92 at the moment. There might be a win at the end of the season, but he travels very well. He did at Haydock, and he went through to take it up, and then kind of pulled himself up. And Sterling Knight and another one come past him. That was it. That was the previous run. But for me, I thought that was a real good run at York. Obviously, these York sprint handicaps, you can't go wrong following them because there's always winners out of them. But Gisborne is my first one in.
Excellent. Now, I'm going to make a quick observation about that race because I got quite a few texts and emails on the Saturday regarding a horse that was running in that race called Lethal Nymph.
Yeah.
Now, he was extremely well backed late. And he finished absolutely nowhere.
He did.
Now, I was asked, why haven't you done this? You've been raving about that. I mentioned it. Clive Cox, very impressive winner at Ascot. Now, as I say to blue in the face, Judge, I'm going to repeat it again for people. Be very careful with Ascot form elsewhere.
Yes.
Lethal Nymph absolutely gagged up. The form is rock solid, but I did say at the time it's rock solid Ascot form. Now, I make Ascot one of Holden's golden tracks for form. It is a unique place. This was further evidence, and everybody who's just blindly followed the horse has done the dough royally. Now, if he was to go back to Ascot,
on the back of that.
He'll get priced up on the back of the flop. Ignore it. Just stick to his Ascot form. I'm giving you some little secrets here. Be very careful when Ascot form travels. Be prepared to be loyal to Ascot form when horses have flopped elsewhere. You will not go wrong with that theory.
That's very good advice. And I've got to say, I've also got to say, York form, you have a look at who won the race. I didn't actually like the winner, but the point is the second had a fantastic chance. And obviously the third, Silver Samurai, was out of the same race as Summergand and Comanche Falls. I mean, we know how that form's worked out all season. So it's there for all to see. But once again, that's York form transferring to York. And like you just said, Ascot form, it does work for York as well. Horses at York sometimes act better there than anywhere else as well.
It does. It works on any track to different extent.
Yeah, but Ascot specifically, because it's I don't know, it's the nature of it, because it's been redrained and everything. It has changed, isn't it?
It's stiff. It's another way around. It has absolutely no guide at all to running at somewhere like York or Doncaster. And please realise that, otherwise you're going to go skint back in York form, Ascot form elsewhere. So there you go.
And also very quickly with that Ascot thing, you always want a horse that stays very well there. You don't want something that's just going to get home, because and you want to be held up, really, don't you? And then big handicaps. Yeah.
Which is the opposite of what you want in a York Sprint handicap.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
I'm not having a go at anybody who joined in the Lethal Nim plunge, but learn from it. That's what.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We all make mistakes. It's the people that don't learn from them that you need to avoid.
Yeah, that's right.
And anyway, that's the past. So I'm gonna go and give my Derby bet now. Now, some of you are going to be very, very surprised on this, because he's a horse who, on the surface, his bubble was popped royally on Saturday. The horse is Nostrum. Now, I think at 25-1, he's an incredible each-way play in the Derby. You can get that with 365, Sky Bet, Paddy Power, Betfair Sports, Unibet, Betfred, Ball Sports. Look, nobody can not get this 25s today, trust me. Let's get the Holden's Horses army and all the judges' army on this, and let's see if we can move this market on Nostrum. Right. Why? Firstly, he had a very tough race 2 weeks previously, and I'm not sure he should have ran on Saturday. Now, Ken Pitterson, who I've interviewed, who I admire, I'm certainly not trying to get in a row with Kenny Boy. He came on ITV. Apparently, I didn't see it on ITV, but he said it was the pick of the paddock. I think he probably was saying a big, strong type. He's the one, like, going forward. I know a couple of people there who were extremely concerned about the appearance, not like ringing the RSPCA or anything. They just thought he ran a little bit light on Saturday. He's a big horse. He had a tough race, even though he won. And they started laying it. Now, I'm not saying Ken's right. I'm not saying they're right. But if you look at the last 5 minutes of the betting market, somebody wanted to lay the hell out of this horse. And he went from like 2-1 on Smarkets and Betdac and whatever out to about 7-2 at one stage. This was a real weak horse in the market. I mean, check it out.
Yeah. Late
on. Now, again, I'm not saying Ken's right. I'm not saying they're right. But it turned out they were right. Within the race itself, I don't think Richard Kingscote was very hard on the horse at all. Now, he was getting pelters on Twitter, the usual suspects. What a crap ride, blah, blah, blah. You got to remember, this is a very valuable horse. Kingscote would have been riding to very strict orders on Saturday. If he was told not to get stuck into it, he'll have been told in no uncertain terms by Stouty not to wallop hell out of this horse. And he certainly didn't. It was a very considerate ride. For me, it was a ride of like a sighter. Now, here's my third bit of evidence. I'm not suggesting team tactics or anything. And I'm certainly not suggesting that Nostrum wasn't trying on Saturday. Let's be very, very clear.
No.
The same ownership were responsible for Chaldine, the winner. Same owners, different trainer. Frankie Dettori rode an extremely aggressive front-running ride on Chaldine. He made sure he got the rail. Chaldine is a very small bull of a horse. I think there's a real chance, all you people that are getting stuck into it for guineas and whatever, I think this is a real chance that this Chaldine is a 2-year-old, a pure 2-year-old. There must be some concern that he won't train on. I think, or won't train on to be a top-class 3-year-old, put it that way. He's a bull of a horse. I think there's got to be a doubt on him next year. And I just wonder if this was his day, and Nostrum is going to have his day next year. He's a huge horse. On breeding, he should be a much stronger 3-year-old. If he did run up light from the previous race and was told to just like look after him, he's actually run pretty well, to be honest, in a Group 1. He's third, and I suspect out of the race, he's going to be easily the best 3-year-old. And the obvious race for him to target on his breeding, and we know how stout he loves to set one up, is the Derby. And 25-1, I think, is absolutely huge. I've not seen anything particular in the 2-year-old ranks, Judge, that would terrify me. And how Flying Honours, who won the Zetland, can be 16-1 and Nostrum be 25-1, I think is absolute insanity. So I don't know who's worked that out. You've got whispers from Coolmore that they're not particularly sweet on their 2-year-olds this year. Obviously, apart from the guineas.
Little Big Bear or Big Front,
he's on the easy list, and we've no proof that he's going to train on next year. I don't like horses that's starting to get injured and whatever.
He's not going to win a Derby, is he? I mean, he's lucky to get the
other thing is, the other thing is, he ain't going to be aimed at the Derby, so we can rule out their number one.
No,
you're right.
Definitely. Yeah.
Now look, there'll be unraced horses lurking at Godolphin, at Coolmore, even maybe Stouty and John Gosden. So, you know, this isn't watertight. There may be a horse that hasn't come out yet to get us. But from what I know now, I can see Nostrum really being in the shake-up next year. I think he'll be given a very easy winter to strengthen up. I suspect he'll be aimed at a fairly soft race at Newmarket. Then he'll go for the Dante, the usual Stouty Derby path. And I can fully see him turning up at Epsom with a big chance. And if we get 25-1 now, which we can, all of us, I think we've got the beginnings of a little Derby portfolio, Judge. So I'm really sweet on Nostrum. I think there are reasons why he got beat, and I think he's the one going forward.
Yeah, getting back to that race, because I made a note of there was some knock-ons. So basically, you had the race before, the 2-year-old race before, leading into that. And the winner of that race was Silver something, wasn't it? Silver, hang on, Knots, that's it. Silver Knot won. That tied in with Chaldine. So that I could see why Chaldine was well supported to win the next race, because the one... But interestingly, Nostrum's form line was Holloway Bay, and that was given Holloway Boy. That wasn't given the greatest ride, was it, on Saturday? So that could have actually sort of franked the form for Nostrum. I'm going to do the old Ron Sill moment. I'm going to sit on the fence. I can see where you're coming from. 25-1 is definitely a good price. I mean, for me, that would be that. If I'm backing anything anti-post, it'd have to be 20-1 at least for the Derby, wouldn't it? You know,
anybody who bets less than 10-1 to me is criminally insane at this point.
Well, yeah, unless you know, then you got to get there, haven't you? And everything else. But 20-25-1, you're looking at a fair price there, definitely.
Everything is 10-1 to run there, isn't it? Before you start.
Well, it feels that way. I'm sure it's not, but it always feels that way. And I always look at it. I mean, like you say, 25-1. There's definitely there'd be many worse bets out there. And the point is, that's nearly always the best race, the Dewhurst, isn't it? That and the old. It's not called that anymore. I think it's called the Futurity, isn't it? It used to be the old Racing Post Trophy. Those two used to be good trials.
Well, I think this is the one. I think this is the premier 2-year-old race.
That's a good race, definitely.
What I would say is, Judge, what other race will he be aimed at with Michael Starr?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, he doesn't really come across as a Guineas horse for me, but I might be wrong. But,
no. The Dante is going to be short enough for him in May. This horse is going to want a mile and a half.
He definitely wants a mile and a quarter on what I'm looking at. So, no, I wouldn't put you off that one, mate. 25-1, it's a great little shout. So I like your vision.
It's good, isn't it? Yeah. Who's the reigning Derby champ? It's Stouty.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. And those colours came close to winning it as well, getting on the old Juddmonte colours. Came third, didn't they, this year?
Mm. Yeah, and you look at his style. You look at his debut win and the last win.
It was grinding, wasn't it? Yeah.
And I see him coming down Tattenham Corner, and if it's Ryan or Kingscote, of course, who is a Derby winner himself, probably Kingscote, because Ryan will be claimed, I would think. I can see him setting him alight and going. I don't think he's a turn of foot horse. I think he's a catch me if you can galloper.
I mean, Holloway Boy loomed up to him, didn't he, the time before? And you think, well, that's going to go by. And he found, I do like horses that find plenty. Like you say, it might be one race too many. 2-year-olds this time of the year. At least it's had the experience now. So, you wouldn't really want him to run again now. I can't see any point in running again, really, for the end of the season.
Cotton wool for the winter, yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Right, off you go, Judge.
Right, now I like that. So, on to my second one. And nearly all year, you've wanted to be drawn low at York. So I'm going back to the handicap on the Friday, where I managed to go for Nomadic Empire, who run shocking, and Count Dorsey, the old boy, run a good race. So I managed to swerve those ones. But I was quite encouraged with a horse that ran there. We were talking about run styles. But if you looked at the race again on Friday, you needed to be in a high draw. Anything that run over the far side sort of outperformed themselves. And a horse that run an absolute blinder was Cape Moss. It was last at halfway. And it finished on right hard on the far rail. Nothing was finishing faster than it. It came fourth. This horse has had 13 starts, but only 7 turf starts. And, it's time before it came fourth at Newmarket to that Azure Blue. That won the fillies. I think it's either a Group 3 or a listed race at Newmarket on Saturday. And that's a right progressive filly, that. And, it's only got a couple of lengths by that on the time before. And Crazy Luck and all that was tied up with that. But I'm looking at it came second to Matisse, your old favourite, at Doncaster, 3 or 4 runs back, beating a short head.
That's strong form. That's
solid form, that. And the fact this horse hasn't had a lot of it's a 3-year-old running against older horses. I think as a 4-year-old, it is a filly. I've double checked. She could be quite good, and she could be running in sort of. She's going to be running handicaps to start off with, and I think she'd definitely go in a handicap, but she could progress into being a listed filly. So Cape Moss was very eye-catching for me. You watch the race back, and you'll see what I mean.
A model horse, you might say.
Not Cape Moss, Cape Moss.
Exactly. I'm here all week.
Yeah, very good.
Right, thank you very much. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit different, and that's not give a winner. That's not a little bit different.
A little bit.
I'm going to give a race. Certainly 3 horses. Now, HFC members, you will still be grinning from our bet on Tritonic, who at one stage was 8-1, the mighty Tritonic. Very interesting race. The Class 2, because it contained many of our jumping favourites. Now, Tritonic is a favourite of mine, except at Cheltenham, where I don't think he acts. So be very careful with Tritonic.
You tipped him up at Ascot for about a nice price last year, didn't you? I thought I'm just going to bang your drum.
Thank you very much. Now, Kingy is far too clever to have not realised that Tritonic doesn't act at Cheltenham. However, it may well be that Connections, like many, get this Cheltenham blindness, and we might see him line up there. Again, I would avoid him, but I would capital letters. If he turns up at Sandown or back at Ascot in a big handicap, I wouldn't be worried about the weight, and I wouldn't say that about many handicap races. This horse is an absolute tool. Look at the way he came off the bridle and then came back onto it late on. Yeah. Now, this trip was so short, but I love the turn of foot. And the other thing, very early on in his career, Tritonic was labelled as a bit of a chancer, a bit of a twicer. But you look at how he stuck his head down yesterday when Goshen came at him. This horse is no shrinking violet. Now, I think the first 3 here run brilliant races. Now, Ajero, there was a big word for this yesterday. This was fancy. The yard fancied it. It was put up everywhere. I think they thought Ajero was going to run to a mark to be able to win this race, and I think he probably did. But he just came in, he just came up against 2. He's only got beat less than 2. Kim Bailey, I'll get him out soon, I'm sure. Now, he's the only one of this 3, Judge, that I could see running on the flat next time, and then going whatever later on. I could see this turning up at a Kempton or a whatever. Anytime soon, and I would certainly be interested in it before he starts his day job. Goshen has run, look, again.
I mean, everyone slags the horse off, but what horse he's been? I mean, you'd love old own horse like that, wouldn't you?
Right. Any left-handed track, huge, big pen through, avoid him like the plague. Look at his right-handed form.
Unreal.
Wincanton, Ascot, blah, blah, blah. I think he could, he's no back number, this horse, and he certainly showed some pace. He's only 6, would you believe?
Yeah.
So there's plenty of life in Goshen, but please avoid him like the plague anywhere left-handed. They always say he won't run left-handed, and then they chuck him in again, don't they? I think sometimes, I suppose you can't not have a go at some of these races. I mean, look, end of the day, he would have won a Triumph, wouldn't it? I mean, he would have won a Triumph. But he's definitely best going right-handed, there's no doubt. If he came up soft, I would be very interested in him for that Wincanton early season hurdle. Right-handed. The one that's run on the Badger Beard Day. Is it the Elite? Or is that later in the
season?
Yeah,
he's got experience there as well. I think he won later on the Champion Urban Trial, didn't he?
Now, often in that race, there's no Irish contenders, but often in that race you get the novices from last year, the first big light all age, and he might just be slightly forgotten in that. And a lot of people have stopped backing him because of his antics. But right-handed, if it came up soft, he could make them all go at Wincanton.
Yeah. Do you think there must be some unfinished? I know he's the old boy. There's also got to be some unfinished business with his flat mark on soft ground, isn't there? Really, as well. You know, you kind of feel it's a shame because quite a lot of the races are left-handed, but he definitely will win a soft ground right-handed track handicap, wouldn't he? Really, anywhere from a mile and a half upwards, you can see him winning. I mean, he's bumped into one there, really, isn't he?
He's a jump source, and that they just use that to see where they were with him. But I agree with you. Good.
I mean, you could see him winning a couple of handicaps. Put it that way. And, very shrewd stable.
I think they still think there's big races in this.
But
I mean, Tritonic. Avoid him. It's such a shame that the Champion Hill's not run at Ascot because he could be a real contender in it. But it isn't.
It could.
And
it certainly
never
could be.
will be.
Looking at the frame, I agree with you.
Yeah. So that race, I think those three. I think Agero might stay on the flat. Even if he doesn't, I'd be interested in him early season on decent ground somewhere like Weatherby, maybe. And the front two, Tritonic's going to have another big year, but not at HQ. So, Judgy, finish us off, mate.
Yeah, I've kind of gone down your line as well. I was very impressed with the winner of the Cesarovic, run for Oscar. But there was two behind. I thought it was very. Talk about laid out for the race and win it. You can't argue with that. But there's two horses that couldn't caught my eye behind him. I thought Vino Victrix, Huey. I mean, you can't argue. Huey Morrison had two horses in the race, and both of them come second and third. Speaking of old boys, Not So Sleepy come third, and he pulled like a lunatic most of the way.
He nearly ended up on Newmarket High Street.
He did. He ran a great race to stay up there all the way. And I had a feeling either him or Widol would hit the frame at a big price, and it was him. And the other horse I liked out the race, so it's Vino Victrix. Just got hampered at a crucial stage, but hasn't had a lot of racing. I like the runner Zoffi. Yeah, I definitely. For me, I don't quite think he gets. He stayed on at 2 mile 2, but there's definitely a good 2 mile handicap in this horse. He was very unlucky in the York race that the Grey horse won, comes second in the Ebor. I'm losing it, but that race seems very unlucky when he come third or fourth at York at the York main meeting. This horse for me is definitely the one to take out with it for a decent 2 mile handicap. I mean, obviously there is some unfinished business you could say over hurdles and fences with him, but he's proven to be an excellent recruit to the flat this season. He's picked up from where he sort of left off because he was with Philip Hobbs, wasn't he? And he's then got a Hugo Palmer. Oh, Alfred Boucher. I knew if I cheated there, that's who he come third to at York. But you ever look, his best. He come there cruising at Goodwood over the 2.5 mile race, and he didn't get home over 2.5. But next time back over 2, he travelled well and got hampered at a crucial stage, and then. He got hampered at a crucial stage on Saturday. He wouldn't have beat the winner. I mean, the winner's won with a ton in hand, but definitely could have been in a fight up for second. Would have been closer. And he'd be the one I like the most out of that lot. But I do think the actual Cesarovic, despite being short in numbers side, I mean, have you ever seen a Cesarovic? There's only 20, not 30 in the race. It's bizarre, wasn't it?
The two things that should worry racing big style. Cesarovic massively down in numbers. The top trophy at Chepstow, don't get me on about Freddie Gordon's ride. That's another episode.
To be fair, I've seen that race once. I've got to watch it back. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. 10 runners in that, usually 16 to 18.
Yeah.
Big problems if we can't fill those two big money races. Big problems. The only thing I'd say about the Says Judge, I actually didn't have a bet in the race. I just couldn't decide.
Well, I always tip up in the race and genuinely thought, well, the front two were both the right. I thought, well, I don't want to be with them. So I really, if I put a gun at me head, I'd have gone small each way with old, small each way, Not So Sleepy, and I'd have copped a little bit, but not a race I wanted to tip in.
Everyone's saying that the Henderson horse is disappointed that they thought he was going to lag up. Well, it's a difficult race to lag up. But what I would say is, I don't think he's run all right. I don't think he's quite got home. If you look at the way he was travelling, about 1.6 miles.
Yes.
I think
and it pulled a lot, didn't it? It didn't settle.
Pulled a lot. I think Ryan made his move too early, and that used his gas up. I think back at a standard flat track, left-handed, a Newbury, or even a Cheltenham, he could still have a big race in him.
I think isn't she going for the novice final again this year? I think that's what Henderson's aiming her at. I might be wrong. Mayor's final or something. At Cheltenham.
I think she's very good, and I still think she's got a big future on the flat as well.
Definitely, yeah. You could see it running in a Chester Cup, couldn't you?
Yeah, your money. I would stick to the flat with that horse. I think that if you bet on that, your losses are lent. Don't give up on that.
Yes, fair dues.
So there we go. We've got through a lot in 25 minutes, Judge.
Yeah, brilliant, mate. I enjoyed
25-1 Nostrum for the Derby. Let's get a big Holdens. Let's get that 25's gone.
Yeah, let's have a few quid on it.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, let's do it. We'll be back on Friday with HHV the Judge, if not before. Have a great week, mate, on the service and your punting in general.
Yeah, I've got a couple of Musselburgh today.
Oh, we never sleep. Not so sleepy. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Mate.
Get on the Derby.
Hey.
Hold